So I have a bunch of autoimmunes. For example, one of the autoimmunes that I have is called celiac. And like the average time to get diagnosed is very long. Women are more likely to have autoimmunes because most research is focused on men. But the existing solutions aren't tailored to them. I'm Umber, and I'm based out of New York. I've always wanted to be a founder, and so I started going to hackathons to try and like prototype and iterate some of the areas I was interested in.
So my name is Kefan. I'm a scientist in a biotech in the Bay Area, and the reason why I want to attend this hackathon is that I want to use new AI tools and leverage it for some biotech or healthcare related topics.
It's not just technically a good implementation, it's also topic-wise a great one. And maybe about the topic, how did you come up with that? What was your reasoning? What was the discussion? Was it clear from the beginning?
So I have a bunch of autoimmunes, and that's why I'm interested in the area. And there's like a couple of reasons why it's interesting to me. For example, one of the autoimmunes that I have is called celiac. And like the average time to get diagnosed is very long, even though like, the symptoms always show up very early in your life. It's not super widespread. And so like growing up in a developing country, it's not something that, we even knew existed. And so I didn't know what I had. And then, moving to America, I sort of figured based on Reddit. My background wasn't medical, and so I was sort of on Reddit and just talking to people and trying to figure out like how to match my symptoms to what might be going on. And so I sort of went down a Reddit rabbit hole and then went to multiple doctors to finally get diagnosed. But there was a lot of like pushback. And then I think in general, people who have autoimmune, they find it very hard to get diagnosed, getting specialized solutions, and then even just keeping up with the research, right? And so there's two parts to it that I find interesting. One is like it's very hard to get diagnosed, and a lot of the time you're like self-advocating. Two, you also have a hard time keeping up with the research. And so it would be very interesting for me to sort of follow clinical trials and just like access data sets to figure out like, well, how is this impacting you? Because the problem with autoimmune is most of the time, if you have one, you probably have another one. And so it did turn out that I do have multiple autoimmunes. But the only reason I know that is because I'd read about this piece in some like PubMed article and figured, okay, like I'm likely to have another one. Most people aren't going these lengths, right? And so my thought process about this in general is just that a lot of people are undiagnosed or are diagnosed and don't know what else their risk factors could be. I also like, learned that women are more likely to have autoimmunes. Women have maybe more like maternal roles or end up being mothers, and like that actually factors in. And so these are all data points that no one thinks about because most research is focused on men. And so autoimmunes actually have like more of an impact on women than men. And this is just like a sort of like growing studies and like research in this area. Know a lot of other people who've been diagnosed over the years with autoimmunes and sort of struggle with keeping up with their flare-ups, triggers, because the existing solutions aren't tailored to them, and they're not interested in keeping up with their Apple Health data, for example, because it's generic. Like they don't need to know their sleep scores. They need to know like when am I more likely to get triggered or what kind of foods would trigger like a celiac flare. So these are just like very specialized, nuanced, sort of niche areas, but I think they're super relevant.
In order to achieve this goal, I utilize some AI tools like Cloud and Gemini plus OpenAI, and I just investigate them in depth and figure out how we can build some agents in order to establish that. And then I just type a very complicated prompt to have a plan for it and iterate for a couple of times. And yeah. I think we did a great demo, and also I utilize my background as biotech background, so I can figure out how to get some raw data or kind of proof concept data in order to prove that our agent built in OpenCloud works. So that's my journey till now.
Just to also show the world of what you have built, because I believe this is not just a hackathon project. It's when two people combine their brains with vision and technical ability that real innovation is happening.
But I also learned that like longevity is like super relevant to all the pieces that we were exploring. So I hadn't even thought of that until I came to the hackathon. I just thought it was a buzzword, for example. So really cool that you could isolate like variables within data sets using Lobster. Um, so I thought that's interesting. Like I could just go in and look at only women. And that's kind of hard to do like on its own. So
I just learned that the power of multi-agent AI, for example, the Openclaw, and how these powerful tools like Lobster AI or other tools that enable this potential for future. I can imagine in future we just chat with the AI bot and it can do a lot of potential functions for us that current application cannot do. So I saw the future through this hackathon. So I really appreciate that.
I just think the ability to get information was so much faster. Because I think for our use case, the research piece mattered more because we weren't using, like, for example, the genomics and proteomics area. And so just being able to get the information that we need and then sort of back it up with the solution that we're trying to give the person with autoimmune makes it current and then also just innovative. And then that's low latency too. So I thought that was pretty innovative.
I think Lobster gave us a chance to utilize multi-omics data with a much faster way. So I can imagine if I don't have Lobster, I have to write thousands of lines of code enable to the same function. So since Lobster enable that, it will simplify all the data analysis and make everything convincing and quicker. So that's the key, I think.